What up, perps? Kid Copious back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we do here. We rep America, the center, and common sense. And ever since Biden took office, he came in with his green agenda, his immigration agenda, his crime agenda, I guess. And it's been nothing but the media and the administration just gaslighting us to try to make us believe that everything's okay. Things are not okay. Obviously, putting Biden in office with his backers and his handlers and his lobbyists was a big, big mistake, because instead of focusing on fixing this country, he set about his agenda. And look where we're at now. You cannot say that you were better off better off now than you were 4 years ago. Can't say it. I think that's impossible. I think you've gaslit yourself into believing that, if you believe it. But anyhow, let's get it popping. All right, so we kick this off with a little Babylon B right here. Babylon. Police slowly escort white hearse containing O.J. Simpson. It's made out of a Bronco. Yeah, O.J. died, good riddance. He was once a childhood hero to one of the most despised people, in the world, I guess. Speaking of despised people, Joe Biden started off the show talking about the gaslighting. And this is one of the examples of that, where they use numbers without providing context. So, they could say, oh, look how good we're doing. Full-time fumble, Bidenomics mass, true employment picture. So he was talking about, in the State of the Union, 15 million new jobs. And people have looked into that, and these are some of the findings. First of all, it's largely part-time employment. It's self-employment, and they like to use the word nebulous, but self-employment, whatever, working for Uber, whatever that might be. You collect unemployment checks, but you fashion yourself like an artist on, social media or whatever. So you say you have a job. And government workers. And it's not even close to 15 million. So when you look at it, what this study did basically was they went back to compare it to pre-COVID baselines. Okay? So February 2020. All right? Fair enough. February 2020. And those numbers actually only show 5.5 million new jobs created between January 21 and February of this year. That's according to one survey, the Establishment Survey. I don't care how they get these surveys, but they use two surveys, the Establishment Survey and the Household Survey. The Household Survey found only 2.5 million jobs were created. So 5.5 million jobs still sounds good, except that the population, civilian non-institutionalized population of working age residents, pretty specific category, broad but specific. I don't know how you do that. I could do it. That population grew by 8.1 million. So job growth has not kept pace with population growth. That is a problem. Okay? So let's look at what it looked like under Trump. 37 months into Trump's tenure, the Establishment Survey showed 6.7 million jobs created, but the population only grew by 5.6 million, which means job growth under Trump outpaced the population growth by 20%. I think that's an important number, but that number doesn't help Biden, so that number is left out. I understand that. You're not going to sink your own ship, but where's the media on this? Why is it Blaze Media that has to bring this up? Why isn't it CNN, MSNBC? Why isn't it LA Times, New York Times, the big papers, the big social media news agencies, the big television news agencies? Why is that not being reported? Because it's bad for Biden. But the media's job is not to support one person over the other. It's supposed to be being neutral. Now, their counter to that is neutrality doesn't make money. Ask me. I don't make any money doing this. I do this because, honestly, I feel like this is like my civic duty. This is the most I can do. I don't have time to go out and do what some of these other people, Tom Fitton, who goes out and he sues states and cities to get access to information to find the truth. All I can do is report on what they find. Thank God there's people out there doing that. But this isn't a story Biden's painting. The story of a growing economy of go-getters seeking upward mobility. This is people taking second and third jobs. If you have 3 jobs, that's 3 jobs. You see? So, yay, new jobs. But the fact that people holding multiple jobs has surged by 1.6 million since Biden took office. That's what they say is double counting the increasing number of employed people with more than one job. So sure, you're creating jobs, but they're being filled by people who already have jobs. That's not a good sign. And again, this report, the truth behind the numbers, does not look good for Biden. Also, many of these new jobs are classified as self-employed. It includes a number of Uber and Lyft drivers. Are record numbers of people starting their own businesses? Not really. These are unemployed and underemployed people taking, again, nebulous jobs or struggling workers forced to take a second gig to tread water. This is not good news for Biden. So the media simply reports, 14 million jobs, 15 million jobs, whatever. Thanks to the endless revisions of employment data, full-time employment is actually down 1.8 million since June of last year. So in under a year, we have lost 1.8 million full-time jobs. That is not good. The example they give here, in short, the top-line job growth numbers are akin to an increase in white blood cell counts of a sick patient, an ominous sign, not a sign of good health. See, if Biden's numbers were great and he was doing good, I would, and I swear, tell you he's doing a good job. But when it comes to jobs, he's not. They're just doing a better job of hiding it. And a lot of these jobs are government jobs, right? Government jobs have composed between 21 and 58% of all job creation in the past 6 employment surveys. Over the past year, government employee has doubled the growth rate of private sector work. It takes no skill or ingenuity to print trillions of dollars, which they're essentially doing, like the Inflation Reduction Act, create phantom jobs, and saddle consumers with the consequences. This is perhaps one reason why all the job creation has been concentrated in just 15% of U.S. counties. 15% of U.S. counties, not states, counties. That's not good. That's just creating fake jobs and wasting tax dollars. And one of the most shocking things that came out of this is since November 2019, native-born U.S. workers have actually lost 1.4 million jobs because foreign-born workers have gained 3 million jobs. That's what they do in the tech sector. You have a project, you bring in developers, coders, and all of that from other countries. I don't have a problem with that. But in actuality, look at the numbers. That's all that's being said. If you were born here in the U.S., you're less likely to have gotten a job. It's just, that's just it. That's what it is. But that's not exactly great. It should be a little bit closer. I mean, really, foreign-born workers have gained double what U.S. has lost. See? Even during an official period of low unemployment, we have a permanently weak economy where no full-time jobs are being created to keep up with the population growth. If this is what a job boom looks like, just wait until the official recession hits. Our inflation is at 3.2% every month instead of 2% that the Fed would like. Everything is getting more expensive. And it all starts with the attack on the energy sector. And that's what he did. And here's part of the attack. Green energy firms are dodging their share of taxes in the biggest corporate welfare scam of all times. That's what the Democrats used to always accuse the Republicans of, right? Corporate welfare, bailing out the automakers, which Obama did, bailing out oil companies, blah, 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 blah. President Biden keeps lecturing corporate America to pay your fair share. And it turns out he's right. Some companies really are getting away scot-free from paying taxes. It's not big tech. It's not Silicon Valley. It's not Wall Street fat cats, big banks, or Walmart. The culprits are green energy firms. They get these federal direct and indirect subsidies that keep, as they say, these zombie companies alive. Over the past 2 decades, renewable energy lobby has collected more than $250 billion in subsidies. Payments that we've been assured over and over again would be temporary. But yet they continue and they continue. And they say, oh, these are infant industries. They need the Head Start program. Except time after time after time, these companies never reach puberty. You keep giving them money and they never make it. They fold up. They take our money, pay big whopping salaries, and then when it all falls apart, taxpayers are left holding the bill. And they keep giving them more and more money. The more they fail, the more money they give. A new report by tax expert Adam Michel at the Cato Institute finds that green energy subsidies, mostly created by the Inflation Reduction Act, will drain the Treasury of as much as $1.8 trillion over 10 years. And since we mentioned it again, where is the inflation reduction? See, these are lies. These are gaslights, man. Inflation reduction. And yet, ever since the Inflation Reduction Act has been signed, inflation continues to go up. Sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. But when they say to us, hey, it's looking good, we're only at 3.2%, well, we're supposed to be at 2%. Okay? So inflation is real. It is happening, and it is happening month after month after month. And with a lot of the new regulations that Biden and his fellow Democrats are putting in place, like here in California, inflation will continue. So where is the reduction? It's not. It's a debt increase act. It is for green energy and no one else. It is for the people who make the campaign contributions to these left-wing nutcases. And what have we gotten? Let's look at that. What have we gotten out of all of this 20 years of funding green energy? We still get 80% of our energy from fossil fuels and nuclear power. Wind and solar are stuck at less than 10%. So, like I've said it before, if you have to throw money at something, it's not working. I want green energy. I understand why we need to clean up our act. I know the rest of the world is not doing anything about it. So why are we bankrupting ourselves? Why are we investing so much money in solar plants in places where it doesn't work? And in some places like Australia, solar is being run by people who aren't even electricians. You have backpackers who are picking up odd jobs, connecting wires for these solar panels. Because wherever the left wing has power right now, they're willing to suspend common sense for their agenda. Meanwhile, these companies have not been paying taxes. And Biden keeps saying that he wants to have a mandatory 15% minimum corporate tax. And what industry is explicitly exempt from that? Green energy. It's just a reminder that a lot of people are getting really, really rich off climate change hysteria, which is why it's hard for some of us to believe that man is playing this huge, all-encompassing role in what's going on with our planet. Wobbles in the orbit, tilts in the axis. There are other things that do this, and they are profiting off of it. In a time where we needed to get our shit together, they're unwinding our shit. And are they focusing in on anything? No, other than cracking down on light bulbs. New energy, and look at these regulations, okay? They want to raise the efficiency of common light bulbs from 45 looms per watt to more than 120 looms per watt, a nearly 170% increase. Only LEDs will be able to comply, not compact fluorescent bulbs. They are forcing change upon us. whether we think it's worth it or not. Because this is, I would hazard to guess that increasing a light bulb from 45 to 120 looms is going to make those things far more expensive. So once again, rich people will have brightly lit homes, and the rest of us get to live in fucking caves. The media likes to spin it that non-lefties are always gaslighting. But that the left wing, the Democrats, the neo-Marxists, they're never gaslighting. But yet, all of the evidence seems to point to the opposite being true. This comes from the Telegraph. The IOC accused of new low by funding study that claims trans women have physical advantage. So biological males that take hormones have a physical disadvantage over women. Okay? Biological women. Wow, then we should let them play in women's sports. But all you have to do is dig into the survey a little bit, right? And find that what they said here, okay, this research paper reported that physically active transgender women perform worse in certain cardiovascular tests and had less lower body strength than gender females. Okay? They also found, contrary to previous claims, transgender women bone density was equivalent to females, which has links to muscle strength. Oh, wow. Again, maybe we, like the IOC says, maybe we should really think about banning transgender women. I mean, maybe they are at a disadvantage. I mean, maybe Leah Thomas, wow, with that disadvantage, how did Leah win all those races? I'm so confused. Of course, the backlash points out the research was pretty unreliable. It was like giving someone the answers to an exam. It looked at very few people, okay? This is Dr. Russ Tucker, a sports scientist and high-performance sports expert currently working as a research scientist for World Rugby. And he questioned the reliability of such a small pool with varying fitness levels because, as he explained, the transgender women were mid-range of untrained or moderately trained adults, whereas the group of females were significantly higher category of training status. Right, okay. I have to say, he says, I think it's a poor study, and it's amazing it's being described as a landmark study. This study is a comparison, one moment in time. And then they're using it to give us insight into what happens when a person suppresses testosterone. As he goes on to explain, one of those groups would be described as overweight and the other as athletic. The transgender women had a body fat percentage of 31.6%. The females, 26.6%. It's a big difference. That 5% is a bit of a difference in the human body. Fiona here from the human rights charity Sex Matters summed it up by saying, it's disappointing that the IOC is still looking at how to allow males to access female sports, where they can only disadvantage women who already get less funding and less access to the sport. But now what we're going to do is we're going to use a study here where you use a bunch of slightly athletic biological males who have been suppressing their testosterone up against athletes. Really, what about Riley Gaines, Leah Thomas? We already saw that 1 year of suppression made no difference. Leah just blew them out of the water. Leah was showered and dried off before some of these people finished. But the IOC wants to gaslight. So I came across this study. This is interesting here. The study grades natural gas as best source for reliability, affordability, and environmental impact. Okay. Grading the grid study by the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, a pro-free market nonprofit, and Northwood University, rates natural gas, coal, petroleum, nuclear, hydroelectric, wind, solar, and geothermal sources for their reliability, environmental, and human impact, and also the cost, innovation, and market feasibility. So there's all the qualifiers right there. Natural gas got an A, followed by nuclear, which got a B+. Wind and solar came in last, receiving F grades. And where's the gaslighting in this? Okay? This is how they laid it out. Natural gas, the study explains, is the best suited to integrate with the intermittency inherent with wind and solar power, which can only produce electricity under certain weather conditions. But nuclear was rated as the best of both worlds: safety, abundance, reliability, ability to deliver electricity without carbon emissions. The main challenges nuclear face is the upfront cost, right, which the government could certainly subsidize like they did with the windmills, and studies about storage of nuclear waste. And again, the more nuclear power plant, I mean, let's keep in mind, the last big nuclear problem we had was, I think it's Fukushima in Japan, and that was a tsunami. All right, that was a tsunami. Before that, it was Chernobyl, which was the Soviets, and come on, I wouldn't trust them to run a lemonade stand. And 3 Mile Island. These are things that are somewhere in the neighborhood of 30, 40, almost 50 years old. But the more we put into nuclear, the more we would do the research on how to store it, what we can do with the waste, we can mitigate some of the downsides to nuclear. Wind and solar don't produce carbon dioxide by themselves, but the reason why it rates so low is that it takes large amounts of land to produce the same amount of energy as other forms. Just because you're not releasing carbon dioxide doesn't mean there isn't environmental impacts from just simply the space they take up. That's the way it is. I mean, hey, this is what the survey was looking at. They said that policies pursuing a rapid transition away from conventional reliable sources will have a negative impact on human health and the well-being of an energy-abundant society. Rushing a system-wide transition to these untested and unreliable energy options puts human lives and the North American economy at risk. That's it. They're saying it right there. Biden's policies are putting us at risk. And the left's policies. Here's a Bronx judge who let migrant squatters go free with no bail. He also releases suspects who beat up a cop. There he is, Darren Bowen. Lets people who beat up police officers, who are probably not even in this country legally. Well, at least one of them right there. This guy, Hector, that they're talking about, had been arrested on an attempted murder charge, but the case fell apart. That doesn't mean that he didn't do it. Okay? He releases. Their policies are what's making everybody scared. Look at Bowen talking about a survey for Ballotpedia. As a public defender with Legal Aid Society of New York City, I fought tirelessly for my clients. He was a public defender who's proud of dismissals, reversals, favorable dispositions that spared my clients jail. See, his living was made by getting criminals out of jail. Fine, that's good. We need those people. If the state can't prove it, the state can't prove it. But he worries about those things. Denver. Look at Denver. Denver's set to defund police and firefighters to pay for illegal aliens. It's not a lot. The police are going to lose $8 million. But again, that $8 million could be going somewhere a little more important, right? We're skipping that one. Squatters, again, have taken over Gordon Ramsay's London pub. And the arrogance of these people. They're shacked up in there. It's like 5 men and a woman are shacked up inside his restaurant because it was closed while he was renegotiating a lease. They call themselves the occupiers. The group slapped a notice on the front door claiming that they are entitled to stay in the pub because it is a non-residential building. This is a sign. Take notice that we occupy this property, and at all times there is at least one person in occupation. That if you attempt to enter by violence or by threatening violence, we will prosecute you. So the illegal immigrants that are squatting in Gordon Ramsay's restaurant are threatening police action against people who try to remove them. The arrogance. But they're backed up by the damn liberals and the lefties. Here's another one. Homeless New York City migrant. There you go. Another guy who just crosses the border, swiped a fire department boat, a historic fire department boat, freed without bail, immediately does it again. Now you can say, okay, these are nonviolent crimes. He just stole a boat. And kudos on stealing a boat. It's the fact that he's an illegal migrant and he's freed without bail. They don't even know where this guy is and they just let him go. I mean, it's one thing when we used to release people without bail, for something like maybe a DUI, right? But you knew where the guy worked. You knew where the guy lived. You knew what car the guy drove. If he wanted to escape that arrest, it'd be very hard. He'd have to give up a lot to disappear. This guy, he doesn't have to give up anything. He was charged. This person was talking. If he was charged with 2 counts of grand larceny, why was he released from jail? I don't get this city. I really don't. I want my city back. So people are really better off than they were 4 years ago, because people weren't saying, I want my city back then. And why? New York judges have a non-cooperation agreement with federal immigration authorities, meaning that they can't hold migrants such as this dude for federal authorities even after such arrest. We have set up laws that bar judges from cooperating with federal immigration. Gone out of our way to protect criminals and illegal immigrants. And green energy. Look at the things that they're protecting. Green energy, that whole push is driving prices through the roof. The fact that they won't do anything about criminals or the illegal immigrants. Making everybody uncomfortable and living in fear. So what do they have to do? The media and the left-wing idiots, the Democratic officials, you senators, representatives, are going after the police. Bronco expresses it here. Is it those violent protesters again? No, Democratic officials in the media. Calling him a pig, calling him a fascist. Recently there's been one where they're trying to make it out like some innocent kid who was stopped for a seatbelt was shot 96 times. They conveniently leave out that the video shows the guy dumping his magazine at police and police dumping their magazines back, with him ending up dead. Somebody who had multiple counts of illegal possession of illegal firearms. All right? So while they're going after all of the legal gun owners, they want to make this guy the next poster boy. Well, it ain't going to happen because the video clearly shows that he shot first. NPR, your tax dollars, funded by, that's what it is, National Propaganda Radio. Bias, why would they say that? Probably one of those racist GOP types. That sums it up. The media, the administration, they're gaslighting us. And they're gaslighting hard because Biden and a lot of other Democrats ran on a soapbox of, we're not Trump, we're not the racist GOP, blah, 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 blah. But when they came in, did they focus on the problems of America, or did they focus on their agenda? They focused on their agenda. Their agenda has been a failure. Our streets are not safer. It's not the amount of crime, it's the type of crime. Crime has been brought to everybody's front door. We now have to navigate our lives while freaks and drug addicts roam the streets, while illegal immigrants commit crimes, get released, commit crimes, released, commit crimes. We have allowed places like Venezuela to dump their jails onto our shores. We have allowed this presidency to attack energy and the future of America to the point where most people are somewhat frozen right now. There is no growth. The animosity is just off the charts right now. We're nowhere closer to being a United States of America than we were when Biden took office. And their focus is always going to be just try to make the GOP out like racist. Well, I'll tell you something. We can argue whether Trump would have done better in these last 4 years or Biden would have done better in these last 4 years. And for me, it's summed up quite easily. Trump did not have an agenda to change things. Trump was more about the status quo of America. Biden is all about changing America. But that changing of America has turned into destroying America. And we have to pull it back. We have to. Look how bad it has gotten in the 3 years of Biden. Look at what the streets look at. Look what your bank account looks like. Think about the things that you're seeing. And when you hear something like incredible job numbers, look into it. Look at the opposing view and see what the opposing view is. Because a lot of times the opposing view lays out some facts that will change your mind. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just lay out some facts, okay? I don't have a team in red and blue. I'm purple, y'all. I'm Kid Copious. I'm purple. Purple State Party. And so are you. Love one another. Drink your water. Don't be stupid. And you know what? When the weight of the media comes crashing down on you, dance it out.